Hopefully that will help. And Greg, welcome. Thank you for coming and joining us today.
Thank you. I have to confess, I didn't even know this went on over here with you. I was looking at a couple of the flyers as I was having my sandwich, and I'll have to make it over for the next few. They've got some interesting topics. So I want to talk a little bit about, and mine's focused on kids mountain biking, and then we can answer any questions you have. And I'll tell you everything I know about cycling, with the history in Northwest Arkansas, where we are today and kind of what's coming. But I moved to Northwest Arkansas from Houston in 2007. I think I was here a couple of months when they first opened the Slaughter Pen Small Trail, the first section of trail over in Northwest Arkansas and north of Bentonville. I remember our first bike meeting, and the club that I'm a part of, Friends of Arkansas Single Track, or FAST, we were brought together as an extension or an aid to the city. The city had all this land donated to them. They had this trail built, but they didn't really know what to do with it, right? They knew how to take care of their parks and roads, etc. But they had this new section here that they didn't really know what it was, how they handled it, and what that would be. So we formed a club really to help the city keep this trail clean. And that was the first meeting of the trail, and we're in the club, and we started this club, and we started riding, and we started racing, and we got all serious into riding mountain bikes. And then after about a couple of years, you're like anything that you get excited about, you're like, whew, all right, let's step back off a little bit and do this for fun again. So that's when I looked at it, and I thought, you know what, I'm a 36-year-old, 37-year-old man. This doesn't seem to be getting any smaller right now. I've got a load of young kids that I want to be healthy for. How can I spend time with them to share a little bit of my own thoughts and struggles at the time? You know, every person wants to be a good business person. You want to be good at your job. You want to be active and healthy and fit and living some kind of active lifestyle. But you also want to be a good, mom and dad as well. So there was this kind of three-legged stool I felt like I was trying to balance. So I said, okay, if I start riding with my kids and get them out here, I can at least kill two birds with one stone, right? I can be a good dad, and maybe I can get a little workout while I'm at it. So I started a kids mountain bike team, and really, it's kind of an odd story. I've never invited any kids out. I've never recruited any kids. Every week they show up, I yell at them for 2 hours, and next week there's more. So we have about 35 kids that come out. We actually just ended our season. We ride every Thursday night from time change to time change, but it kind of snuck up on us this year, so we're kind of running out at daylight to ride with the kids. But they range from, I always say it's from 7 to 14 is our age group. But now we have some older kids who've been with us for years that still come out and help out. And, some of them race on Fat Tires race team. And then I've got a bunch of little bitty kids that show up, and their little brothers and little sisters. But I love this photo. This is at Hobbs State Park race last year with the kids mountain bike crew. And they're, as you can see, every one of those has on their face that if you glance away for 5 seconds, they could be in some trouble. They're a bunch of sweethearts. And in this picture, this girl right here, this little rascal right here, and this girl right here, those are my three youngest. So, as you can see, I've got a little bit of a vested interest in this. So what is FAST? What is the club? And it's probably no new news to anyone in here that we're getting a heck of a lot of soft surface and hard surface trails in this area. Everyone's talking about bicycles. We have everything from big bike shops that have, well, we don't have any chain bike shops. They're all local bike shops like GPP and Rogers. They just opened a Bella Vista branch to work out over there, and they do all kinds of stuff there. They're kind of at this level right here. They race, they run triathlons, they ride road bikes. You've got Joe over here with Ozark Cycler. He's been there forever, and he's a I think he may be the plug in the community. If he went away, the whole cycling community may just drain away. Then you've got businesses in Bentonville like Fat Tire and Mojo Cycling, and all kind of plugging in at different levels in the cycling from a business standpoint. You've got other groups that have popped up, like Pedal It Forward. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that group. So Pedal It Forward started 2 years ago now, and they take old donated bikes. They get some broken stuff and some seconds from Walmart. They piece them all together into rideable bikes and give them away. And I think they've given away, gosh, I wish I had the number, but I mean, it's into the thousands of bikes. It's an incredible organization. We've had that expand. Who's involved in that? Obviously, they're the core folks that got that started. But I have kids that ride with my kids' teams. They go over there every Saturday to work on bikes. That's what they want. That's what they want to do. And now they've expanded the bike donation not just to kids, but to adults that need a bike. And if you think about it, not everybody showed up on a car today. And if you've got to walk somewhere, whether it's to the store or to a job, you are at a severe disadvantage to someone who has a bicycle and can get there. You know, you can cover a couple of miles on a bicycle and get there quickly. Walking is a pretty slow process. So we've had that. I know that some of the churches are using this as an outreach, and we've had the idea at Pedal It Forward that maybe every pastor in the area gets a bicycle, and if you see someone that needs it, give it away. We'll put another one back underneath you. So what a great program. But we just see all these areas growing and coming together and benefiting, and all on the back of this crazy tool, a bicycle. Right? So in 2008, we had our first meeting. I formed the Fast Kids race team in 2010. We were recognized by Bentonville as Fast. It's the 2012 Volunteer Group of the Year. And in 2014, we expanded our relationship with Cycling Nationally by joining the international group, the International Mountain Bike Association. They are in line with what we like to do locally, nationally, and that is to, I'm trying to remember what the mission statement is that I wrote here, but we're a large volunteer group, about 250 to 300 members right now, to develop the sport of mountain biking in conjunction with the off-road trail system. We focus on trail maintenance and cleanup, making sure that they're not eroded, that they're not covered in brush or trees. We do a ton of weed eating. We have a storm response team. When a big wind comes through, you'll find limbs and logs laying across the trail. We want to keep that usable for riders and for joggers and for walkers. We have a good team there. We spent a lot of time with the growth in the trail system on advocacy and outreach and being an ambassador here lately. And it's funny, I laugh at the friendliness of people in Northwest Arkansas. I moved up here from Houston, which is not a friendly area. Northwest Arkansas is far more friendly, and someone will post out on Facebook a group saying, "Hey, I'm coming down from St. Louis to ride with some friends of mine." And next thing you know, there'll be 30 posts on there, and it's I joke, I'm going to take them out on the trail, or I'm going to host them for dinner. Well, they can stay at my house. I mean, it almost gets out of hand a bit to the friendliness, and I think sometimes people feel overwhelmed. They're shocked with how nice people are in Northwest Arkansas. Let me see here. Next slide here. So I put this slide in here just so people can kind of, see where I am. I've got a big family of 5. I spent a ton of time riding with little kids, and I think I've reached the level of experience with coaching and maybe just the sheer age of, I feel comfortable telling kids to do that even aren't mine, telling them what they need to do. We were at dinner the other night after the ride, and there were several adults and a big group of table of kids, and they were being a little rowdy, and I walked over to the table and I pretty much told all of them to sit down and clean up that mess and quit messing that up. And then I came back over to the table of adults, and so I'm sorry, I just got on to all y'all's kids. And I said, no, perfectly okay. One thing I want to point out here, top left corner, that's a picture of me and my Uncle Tyler. So in 2002, I had moved to Houston with my family, and I was working for a business that they brought in lunch every day. And I guess I'm just like I don't know, like a stray dog. Any food that's put in front of me, I just can't turn it down. So I got to be pretty big. And I looked around and thought, okay, I'm 36 years old, I have little kids, and I want to be that granddad that says, yeah, let's go do something, and not the grandfather that can't be active with my grandchildren. I want to be out there moving and doing stuff, and I got to make that decision today. So I looked around my family, and nobody was really obese, but my uncle was the only one that really focused on fitness. So I called him and I said, what should I do, Uncle Tyler? And he said, man, you need to lose some weight. You're kind of fat. And I said, well, yes, I appreciate that. So he sold me a mountain bike. He has a bike shop, and he sold me a mountain bike, and I started riding on a mountain bike, and a couple of things happened. I got fitter. I found a great way to relax and explore areas of the trail. And I know a lot of you are probably hikers and walkers. I've never been a hiker, and I knew I wanted to get out and explore these trails, and the only way I was going to do it was on a bicycle. But probably one of the most rewarding things about that whole story is I got to know my uncle. And I knew my uncle like many of you know your family members and uncles. I saw him at Christmas and Thanksgiving. I could pick him out of a lineup, and that was about it. I didn't know who he was. Since then, over the past 10 years, he and I have ridden mountain bikes all over the U.S., and he's my best friend. I talk to him every day. And I have found a relationship with an incredible man that I would have never discovered if it were not for this relationship that we had, or this shared interest. And I also get time to get to know these little guys right here. And this is me and my three oldest, and heading out on a ride last fall from the house. We'll, you ride, you spend a couple hours together, you talk, and you know how it is with kids. You can't sit down and say, all right, son, let's have some quality time right now. I've got 45 minutes. Let's get some quality time. You have to have that casual, interaction. You need to be around them. And it's given me a great opportunity to have great conversations with them. This is a funny story here. Every year down in Mount Ida, or Odin, Arkansas, there's a 65-mile mountain bike race. And I don't know if you've ever done that one, but that's a long way. So that was 3 years ago. I'd had some knee surgery. I knew I couldn't really ride hard and be competitive, but I said, all right, I'll sign up anyway, and I'll take my 14-year-old and my 11-year-old down, and we'll just do our best. We'll sign up and get our T-shirt. We'll go out and see how far we can make it. So we got around to about mile 31, and I said, all right, I'm done. Let's go to the cabin, get cleaned up, and we can meet the rest of the crew at the finish line. And my daughter, who's positively stubborn, she said, well, I still feel like I can ride further. Can I go on? And the director's over there saying, no, you can't make it any further. You can't make it to the next checkpoint. It's too far. You're running out of time. She goes, well, I think I can make it. No, I don't think you can. She says, well, I'm going to go. And my son said, Dad, should I go too? And I said, everyone, let the record show your father did not push you into this. Okay? If you guys go, you are on your own, guys. And they took off. And bragging a little bit, they're still, 3 years later, they're still the youngest male and youngest female to ever finish. And we all see our friends and children and peers and siblings achieve great things, but the most rewarding part of that whole thing was I was not telling them to keep pursuing something that was going to be hard, it's going to be challenging, it's going to be painful. You're going to hurt on the rest of this ride, kids, and you know it. And they said, hey, we're going to do it anyway. So that was, for me, that was probably still one of the most rewarding things I've seen with the club. So what is a mountain biker? You know, we've seen pictures of everybody sitting still, but when you think about somebody riding a mountain bike, what is it, right? Well, it's all this, okay? Is it this guy? Absolutely. Not for me, it's not. But there are people who, hey, I want to do the Red Bull X Game thing, and I'm going to get out there and I'm going to barrel down this trail and, you know, take all the dangers, okay? But it's also this, you know, riding with your family to explore trails, stay fit, be a part of a group, a club. It's this, you know, being out there supporting kids while they race, racing yourself. Actually, racing is an interesting point, and now we got a racer right here in the room, but at a local race, we'll have 25 to 35 racers start in your category, okay, your age and skill level, which is an interesting number, right? They only pay out 3 trophies, and frankly, you usually know who those fastest folks are. So why are you out there? If you don't think you're going to win, you know, what is the rewarding part of that? To go out and say, hey, I always finish near the back and I don't care. Well, will you beat out the next race? Of course, I never miss them. You know, it's a great support. It's a great fun. It's a great family activity. And everyone who says, oh, I'd never race a mountain bike, I say, well, come on out. You might enjoy being at the race or cooking hamburgers or helping out some way. It's just a great way to be in your community. It's kids riding with their friends. This may not bother y'all, but I would much rather see this than everybody hunkered over their phones, texting or playing or whatnot. It's some of this. And I use these examples because these are things I put my own kids through. Here's my son right here. This is the last race of the season 2 years ago, and it was a mess down in Hot Springs. They're not all smiling now, but because they're sopping wet and freezing. And as you know, that's the stuff that's fun. You know, you finish it and you're like, well, I can't believe we did that, but wow, that was crazy. That was something we'll be talking about. So I put this slide up here because I think everyone kind of has in their mind, you know, one, I'm not going to say bias, but one imprint in your mind of this is what we're talking about. And I just want to expand that. You know, it's more than just racing along or the really tough stuff. It's riding around town. It's being with your friends. It's getting some exercise, getting out, getting some sun. And that's important to me because you guys are the leaders in the community. You're the ones that are on the city council and on these neighborhood committees and on the different groups to where you're asked to make opinions and decisions about the growth of our community. And that may be something as easy as, you know, hey, they're going to build a mountain bike trail out at Atalanta. What do we think about that? Well, I'll tell you what I think about it. I think everybody's going to be barreling along trying to kill themselves. Now you can say, well, hold on, that's not everything. It's a lot of this and that. You know, it's a lot of ways for families to spend time together. So even further, we showed some pictures. This is where kind of the business owner side of this. You know, who rides bikes, right? It's actually, if you were to kind of track the timeline of being on a bicycle, right? You know, you get to be 3, 4, 5, and your parents get you your first bicycle, and you just ride it until you, what do they say? What do they say? Until you're hit with those. They always say that young men ride mountain bikes until they're hit with that 2 scents that they get, 2 smells: perfume and gasoline. And then they lean that old bike up out by the garage, and they don't see it again. Until they get to be about 27, 28, and they're like, hey, where'd all this come from? I don't remember this. I need to think about something. So we're trying to bridge that gap. But mountain bikers typically have a good income. We're talking about who you would see as an adult out on the trail. Mountain bikes cost money. You have to have the resources and the time to ride. They are predominantly male. we're making some great strides to drive this number up through Girls Bike Bentonville and Dirt Divas and the Juliana's Club and all these things to get girls and ladies involved in mountain biking and cycling in general. Large percentage is going to be in that 35 and above age. Interestingly enough, we're actually seeing a whole nother line out here now, and we have a pretty good crowd of ladies and gentlemen who race into their 60s and early 70s now. And that's actually racing, not just being involved on the trail. Married, unmarried, and the income is actually what you would see, as higher than the normal in there. We actually did a study. You talk about, well, who uses the trail? Are they really that busy? What's the economic impact? And in Rogers, you have two big, we'll label 3 big cycling imprints. One, Lake Atalanta, and I think that'll be opened up later this fall, I believe, back up, and that's a beautiful trail system. And that trail system is going to have a truly transformative move on Atalanta. When I first came up here, someone told me there was a lake out there you should go check out. This was 9 years ago. I'll confess, Atalanta was kind of sketchy. I mean, I went out there and rode around the lake, and it kind of had a weird feel to me. Am I going to get mugged out here? It just felt a little sketchy out there. Now they're making that whole pavilion area and that drain area in the park. It's going to look wonderful. I think they dredged the lake, and the trail system out there is really pretty, very usable for riders and for walkers. The rail yard jump park, that's a beautiful facility. I've been out there, and I'll have to confess, I rolled around it a couple of times. I say I'm a wheels on the ground kind of guy, and there's no reason for those tires to be off the ground ever for me. But that's a great place, not just to highlight and as a gym for Rogers, but also you see who's out there, man. It's some teens, it's kids that might be somewhere else that are a little more, maybe more to the ne'er-do-well sense of thing. It's a great place for your community. It's lit. It's got a beautiful pavilion out there, and I'd like to check in and see what it takes to rent out for a birthday party or a club meeting, that pavilion. It's a great setup. And you have the hard surface Greenway Trail that cuts through Rogers. This is very well used, connecting neighborhoods and towns via a nice wide, very rideable and walkable sidewalk. We did a study on a slaughter pen, and I think this will be replicated throughout the other areas. But there's a mapping app for your phone that you can start when you go ride. It's called Strava. And you start it when you go ride, and you stick your phone in your pocket, and then when you're done, it tells you how far you've ridden and where you rode, and how far up and how far down. And you can use it for jogging or walking, just kind of to track your progress. You can actually add your own purpose on there. I didn't think I was getting enough exercise credit for when I go walk the back 40 trails weed eating, so I added a weed eater thing in there. So on mine I've got walking, riding, and weed eating, where I've actually covered that as an exercise. But they did a mathematical analysis of every Strava report on the Slaughter Pen Trail system, and then they made some assumptions on, well, we know we're not getting there, not everybody has Strava, and we know we missed some, and this, that, and the other. And they came up with, over the last 12 months, there have been hold on. How many miles do you think, I've already given you a little hint, how many miles do you think have been totally ridden at Slaughter Pen in the past 12 months?
12 months?
Yeah. Leslie's told me she's got a great prize for whoever comes up with this. You get first pick off the cookie tray. 350,000 miles.
Oh, whoa.
Okay. So let's talk about that number. That's a huge number. So it comes to about 6,000 a day. Well, hold on, I'm doing my math wrong here. But I'll get back to it. The point is, it's about 100 riders per day on average going out there doing a big ride. Okay. So what does that mean for your community? Well, these are people based on these demographics that they either live here, so they had to buy everything that it takes to go ride. You know, they needed a water bottle and a bike, and then after they were done, they went and ate, or they hit one of the local restaurants. So this is an economic, boost to your area, and it drives nice restaurants near the trails or downtown. I mean, what's the Rail Pizza place over here? Every Wednesday and Thursday night, that place has mountain bikers in it that have been for a ride, and they're coming back and they're supporting that local business. And those are the type of metrics that we want to come up with, because we want to be able to tell the city, yes, you made an investment in this, and it was a good return on your money. The community is happier, they're more active, they're spending money, they're starting new businesses. And I'll give you an example of this. When we first started in Bentonville getting the trail going, if I saw somebody on a mountain bike, I knew who they were. That's how few riders there were. Matter of fact, I was out on the trail one time, and I passed a guy and stopped to talk to him, and I was like, hey man, is that Gary Vernon's bike? And he said, yeah, I came to visit and he loaned me his bike. So that's how few riders there were that I actually recognized somebody else's bicycle that somebody was on. Now, over a weekend at Slaughter Pen and the rail yard in Atalanta, I mean, there'll be 5,000 riders out, out enjoying this at all various levels. And that's incredible growth. I mean, you just ride around town, looks like every car, in Northwest Arkansas has a bike rack on the back. So we talked a little bit about the Fast Kids, and revert back out of the community and back to talk a little bit about the kids team. I don't know the best way to say, other than being a part of this team, has changed my life. It's been one of the most rewarding things I've ever been involved in. From seeing kids try and succeed to being part of other people's families and getting to know other families, to seeing how just the involvement of any adult in some child's life can really have a positive effect. And to the point of, there was a kid that came out and rode with us, and we got to the top of a long climb, and I guess he was 11, and he was crying. He was so tired. He was just breaking down, and I said, hey, come here, man. I mean, are you hurt? What are you? He goes, I just can't do it. I can't do it, Coach. I'm too tired. I can't make it. I'm like, well, first off, you did make it. And I would never ask you to do anything, that you can't do. And we'll cry if we get hurt. We'll cry because we're super happy. And we'll cry when we're sad. But we don't ever cry because we're tired. Okay? So I want you to go behind that tree, dry yourself up, and then come back out and let's finish this. And he did. He was fine. A couple weeks later, his mom, single mom, trying to play dual roles, the toughest job in the world, bringing him out. She took me aside and she said, what did you say to Avery? That's usually not a good way to start a conversation. I'm like, uh-oh. And I said, really? Why? Because he has really started acting like a young man around the house. And just giving that young man, the confidence to say, you can do it, kid, really just changed his life. And I think anybody could have done it, but I was blessed with that opportunity to be there and be a part of that right then. So to brag about it a little more, in Arkansas there are 3 series. We raced 10 races out on this series, and there are 3 series championships you can race for. Okay. There's the Future Champions Cup, which is the little kids. It's only the kids team. There's the A Series, which is kind of the middle, small type crowd. We can't have only one expert on the team. Then there's the Double A. You can have a bunch of experts. Okay. So the last, 4 or 5 years, we've won the Future Champions Cup. So the kids are great. And we've also won the Adult Series last year, which There's a little bit of clapping, but there's a little bit of grumbling when they announce the adult winners, and it's this group right here up there. So it's fun for me. Now this year, we're part of the bigger team, and we're going after the double A's, the big squad, and we're in third place, but there's still a few races left for the kids to be involved in. So it's exciting. All right, so the future, where will this go? You all know and you follow the news, we have trail systems going in everywhere. I'll tell you some of the characteristics of our trail, the pros and the cons, where they're wonderful and where they're at a little bit of a deficit. Okay? The trails are built to be mountain bike specific, but that means multi-use. They're rideable. You'll see when you come to like a switchback going up a hill, where a hiking trail you may do this on a real tight turn, but a mountain bike trail it's going to be a more gradual sweeping turn, so a bike can make that turn. It's going to be less steep than you'd see on a hiking trail, both up and down. You're going to see access to areas, and it may be a little longer than a hiking trail. Generally, no horses allowed, but foot traffic and wheel traffic, are what's welcome. We have the Atalanta Trail. We've got Hobbs. If you've never been out there, Hobbs has just made over the last few years, some great enhancements to their shop there and their exhibits within the state park headquarters. We have, as I know I'm not ever going to be able to name them all, but we have the Slaughter Pen Trail in Bentonville. There's two other little trails in Bentonville at Park Springs and then behind Lake Lincoln. But what's really hot on everybody's mind right now is the Back 40 Trail. I don't know if any of you have seen any of that in the news or you've heard of it. It will eventually be a 150-mile trail system. I think that's right, maybe the total. It's going to be over 100 miles of trail system in Bella Vista, which is interesting. I guess, does everyone here live in Rogers or anyone live in Bella Vista?
No.
Oh, good close, okay. So you're all familiar with what Bella Vista looks like, right? Now, all the houses are built on ridges. That's why everybody's house, the front of their house sits on the ground, and the back, looks down into a valley. Well, I'll tell you, those valleys are steep. And to the point to where once you get down there, you may have trouble getting out. And sometimes they're full of trash where people have dumped. People are riding four-wheelers down there, they're deer hunting, they're dumping trash, there are drug deals, there's all kinds of stuff that you don't want to be a part of. Now all those trail systems have been cut through there, and they're growing. I think we're up to about 40 miles now. So they're cutting trails today. I passed a guy working on a mini bulldozer over there cutting a trail. So you're opening up areas that even as a POA member or a property owner, you didn't have access to. You couldn't get down there. It was overgrown. It was, you couldn't get down that steep hill. It was eroded. Now I see people every time I go out walking, running, riding with their kids. It's really opened up that area. You also have in that area the whole mountain bike and outdoor and trail user community is a rolling neighborhood watch. If I see somebody doing something, I'm calling the cops or I'm telling them to stop. And I've broken up. I've ran off dumpers. I've come upon all kinds of messes. But it's important to your community to have people out instead of driving past in your car saying, well, I don't know what's going on over there, but I don't need to be a part of it. To say, hey, I see what you're doing, and I don't like it. And by the way, I'm calling the cops. That'll stop that. So I think that we're already seeing a nice turn in Bella Vista. I live right on the Missouri border, and I've seen some nice impact over there. So the trails are growing, they're coming. Membership growth. We've seen our club grow, both the FAST, Friends of Arkansas Single Track. The other local club out of Fayetteville is Ozark Off-Road Cyclists. They do a ton of trail development. We're seeing membership grow really beyond cyclists. I don't know if that's odd or not, but we've seen people say, you know what, I don't really ride, but man, I sure like using those trails, and I'd like to be a part of that. We have a man and woman who are part of the Fast Club. Neither one of them ride, but they sure like to cook or be a part of our events, and that's exactly what I want to see. I probably see myself drifting into that role in a couple of years, frankly. And I love to see the team growth. One thing that we saw this year, and you may have seen this in the news, is the entrance of Arkansas into the National Interscholastic or Collegiate Cycling Association, which is a high school league inside the schools for mountain bike riding. Okay? So think of it kind of when they started doing cross-country running at schools. Brand new, starting to be integrated into the school system just like any other sport. And they had their first local race in Bentonville 2 weekends ago, and they had 150 riders. So great option for kids to be in another sport that's outside of the normal football, baseball, and basketball. And I'll tell you, I'm a little jealous. When I was in high school, we had football, baseball, sometimes basketball. So we didn't have a whole lot of choices that kids have today. But the point is, if you ride a mountain bike, that's great. If you want to use the trails, that's great. If you just want to be an advocate or be out and support this effort, we would love to have you. So let's see here. Last slide, and I think maybe we'll have a few more minutes for questions. If I haven't gone over, most of the time I get the hook by now, but like the old Gong Show. But how are trails built? And there's actually a science behind the trail. Now obviously, you can't just go straight down a valley or straight up a valley. Nobody would walk it, ride it, or run it more than once, right? So most of our trails in this area, because we're in a pretty hilly area, most of those are what we call bench cut, which means you have the slope and you actually cut a little bench into it. And this is the proper design for a bench cut so that the water runs across the trail, doesn't erode. And with our area, we have a very, very rocky soil. I don't know if anyone's noticed that. I say I can dig a hole in my backyard and come back the next day and it's actually just filled up with rocks. But that's actually good for trails. It drains well. And trails that are built properly in this area don't need a whole lot of upkeep. And they're usable almost right after a rain, which is great for the area. I know down in East Texas, where I'm from, if it rains, you're about 3 weeks away from being able to get back on the trail, just because it'll just be too messy. Here, you can go out right after a rain and in most places and ride or walk. So properly built trails, maintained trails, and if you have a trail like this, I don't know if anyone can see this picture. This is actually not a local picture. This is from the Ouachita Trail down in central Arkansas. And you see the nice slope here where they've cut the bench into there for the trail. And except for leaves and branches and whatnot, it doesn't take a whole lot of upkeep. So you invest your time and your effort, and it's there, for years and years to come. We have monthly and quarterly work days where we get groups out to work on the trails. It's like any other work project. There's some folks are working hard, and I'm usually over there leaning on a rake, and I'm better at supervision than actually working. So we do a lot of weed eating. So that's about it. I feel like I've told you guys everything I know about mountain biking. What questions can I answer about the area and growth and whatnot? Leslie?
I'm going to start with a real stupid question from somebody who isn't a biker.
Okay.
What's the difference between a mountain bike and a road bike?
Okay, so the most obvious difference is the tires. Okay, mountain bike has thicker tires, made to roll over dirt and grass and rocks and whatnot. There are some frame building differences or geometries, but basically that's it. You'll see the road bikers having the real skinny tires. So we always say what you'll hear in the area is that you road bike for fitness and you mountain bike for fun. So based on that.
I ride with the Bella Vista Bike
Who let
Club.
that-
I ride with the Bella Vista Bike Club.
Who let that road biker in here? Who was in charge of checking that? Yes, so you know Lowell.
I
and,
know the old, the retiree people that ride road bikes.
Well, I'll tell you this, speaking of cycling, there are 2 events going on right now that you need to be a part of. One is the protected bike lanes effort, and I think there's a meeting tomorrow night. I think I'm out of town. And also, I can neither confirm nor deny that I've seen a map that lays out areas to where they're going to add passing lanes on in Bella Vista. They can't put a bike lane everywhere, but in maybe some of the climbs or some of the tougher curves, they're gonna give a little bit of space. But this group right here, they have a fun group that meets. What days do you guys
We
ride?
ride Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings.
Okay, I've seen the group ride out of the Jane Walmart and head north, you know, on some of those roads up there toward Pineville. But that's
Yeah, we do that. Yesterday we rode down 279 out around Mason Valley.
nice.
We either go out of Hawaii south or Gravette, or Jane Walmart, we go up to Elk Springs or Cyclone or Jane, Anderson. And then we also go out of Blowing Springs, go up to Pea Ridge and do a Lee Town and back
Yep.
down 40 to Blowing Springs.
I think that's the Bella Vista Bike Club is a great example of a group that gets together with a shared interest. I'm sure there's a whole lot of chatting that goes on those rides, just catching up.
And we always stop at either Sonic or McDonald's or something.
Yeah,
And have coffee
you
before we
probably
start back.
ride what we call a no-drop ride, to where, you know, at every logical point you stop and let everybody catch up and make sure everybody's okay, and then you ride a little further and then let them all catch up. And
But we've also got some racers. We've got some that do the senior games. And we've got some serious, I don't know if you know Earl.
I prefer to not be embarrassed by that group, so I'll stay
So
with that.
we're not just, I'm the slow one.
I will tell you this, that my daughter and I started riding road bikes. I tell everybody I'm a closet road biker. You know, I like to go out and ride, just don't tell anybody. I don't want to ruin my rep as a mountain biker. But, I forgot to use the mic, didn't I? I'm sorry. They instructed me that I could use the microphone, and I forgot all about it. So I hope everyone's been able to hear me okay. But it's been really nice riding with her. We can talk. She turns 18 next week. I spent the last few years riding early morning road rides with her on Sunday morning before church, and you see more, you smell more. You know, you're just it's a totally different experience than being in a car. You know, it's almost the same. You know, it almost equates to the difference between going to the Grand Canyon and watching a show about the Grand Canyon on TV. You know, when you're out there and, you know, you hear different things, you smell everything, it's just a great experience. I really appreciate it. So. What else?
Let's give him a big hand.